What up? It's your boy, Dick Incredible Man. Yes, I'm back at it again. And this is 911 Season 3, Episode 6, man. And Buck is back, baby. Yes. And dude, this episode was good. It was a little spooky, but it was a nice, heartfelt episode for our main cast and having Buck back on the company. And there's no more Ronda Rousey this episode. So let's get into it, man. Dude, this episode was absolutely fantastic, man. I know I say that a lot. I actually really enjoyed it because it gave me that Halloween-esque feel, which they always do, like a good Halloween episode. And there was a lot of spooky stuff that was taking place this episode that I really enjoyed. And then we also dove into the seriousness of this episode. And there was a lot of moments to where I was like, I love the writing of 911. And I was like, what are you doing? So let's get right into it, man. Yes, this episode started off with a 911 call, which was fantastic because I'm going to be real. It made a reference to The Birds, the movie. And even Chimney made that statement. It was like, I saw this movie before, and it made a reference to The Birds. Like, the teacher called 911, help! The birds are attacking the children, and it was fun. But let's be real. Those two little dudes, they deserved everything they got. I mean, I don't want to be that guy to be like, well, why are you saying that? They're kids. They deserved it. They antagonized the crows, and they're just desserts. That's just what it was. But, it came through and the company 118 saved them, so that was just nice. And like, we actually learned a lot of information about crows that I didn't know. Hen was very knowledgeable about crows, that like they hold grudges and that they can recognize a face for years, so they hid the kids when they took them out of the barn. So after that happened, we had Chimney flipping out this whole episode about the crows. He kept seeing that one crow every time you turn around. No one else saw him. He's the only one that kept seeing him, and he brought him back his name tag at the end of this episode. Now, that was one of the fun moments of this episode that was just fun and that I enjoyed. Then the rest of it got serious, and then the rest of it got like, what are you doing? Because then, I'm going to talk about everything else, but like, I have to get this one out there because this is crazy. We have this lady. She's on the phone talking to a friend or a sister or something, and she runs into this dude. Granted, it really wasn't her fault. The dude kind of swerved, and she kind of swerved, and they end up colliding into each other, and he went through her windshield. But when that happened, she hit her head, and she had a big knot on her head, and she went home like it was nothing, like she didn't see him at all anymore. And she done this for 2 days riding around town, and everyone thought it was just another Halloween decoration on her car, but multiple people saw the dude's arms and legs moving, and this lady drove around 2 days with this body smashed in her windshield. And I'm assuming because of the brain bleed, certain parts of her brain and her eyes and everything, they really weren't working together, so she couldn't really see what was going on in that part of her car, because she drove around with this man in her car for 2 days. And that is one of the moments I was like, huge shout out to the 911 writing cast, man, because that was boss, because the writers, they done their thing with that, and for them to shoot that and show that, and the lady just riding around town like the list. I thought she was going to say something about the body. I enjoyed that moment in this whole episode. Then we get to one of the serious moments. Maddie, you're doing too much. I'm just being real. And her going out of her way to interject herself into this woman's life to try to save her from going through what you went through and everything, I think it's a good thing, but at the same time, the way that you went about it, I have to agree with Chimney. You're doing the same thing that Doug did. This is the exact same thing that Doug did. Got to know this person under false pretenses, lied to them and everything, and the thing is, she started to believe her lie because she believed that she was actually friends with this lady. There's no proof that like you couldn't have started a friendship, but you burned that bridge the moment you lied to her. But I really think Maddie really needs help, and that's what we got to see towards the end of this episode, that her boss sat her down, told her that she really needed help. But we had the lady to confront her. We had Chimney kind of pointing out that you're doing things wrong. This is the wrong way to do things. And I love that we got to see a lot of Maddie this episode. We got to see a fun Maddie also with her coworker, where they were in there and they're talking about the Halloween costumes and everything. So we got to see Maddie this episode a lot because we didn't really see her last week. And this week we got to see her, and she was in over her head because she really didn't know what she was doing, man. And she was doing the exact same thing that Doug was doing. But I understand why, because she needs help. Like, listening to that lady on the 911 call brought back all of these emotions and feelings that she was dealing with, or that she wasn't dealing with from Doug. Because, you know, she had to kill him. He tortured her. There's so much going on with her backstory about Doug that she hasn't really dealt with it all. And that lady having that call and her husband being abusive, that just resurfaced all of these feelings that Maggie was having, and it just came up like a powder keg, and it just blew until she done what she done. Man, but then, dude, we have Buck finally back at the firehouse, and I was so happy and excited. But the only ones that seems to be that is ready to forgive him are Chimney and Hen, and they're pretty much welcoming him back with open arms, and they're glad that he's back. But Bobby and Eddie are going to take a little more convincing. Eddie, we found out why Eddie was mad at at the end of the episode, and we kind of got to agree with Eddie. Everything that you said was something you wanted. You want to be a part of a team, and you're not even concerned about the team's feelings. And I understand that because Buck, you wanting to come back is totally fine, but you also have to realize that these people care about you, and in your moment of trying to come back, you didn't care about these people. You said that you did, but let's be real. If you really did, you would just make your case and state it, but at the same time not try to use the tactics that you used against these people, man. And that's the thing. They weren't upset about the tactics. They were upset about him going about it the way that he did because they figured he wasn't ready. But now they accepted it, and Bobby was the only one that he really had to convince. And I love the fact that he made up with Eddie at the end of this episode, but he also made up with Bobby at the end too. Bobby was having some conflictions about everything. He even talked to Athena about it and Hen about Buck's situation, and they both pretty much told him it's okay to be angry, but if Buck feels like he's ready, let him come back. And also in this episode, we kind of find out that I felt like Buck kind of realized that he's ready, but also maybe he's kind of not ready, because when he saw the lady with the guy smashed into her windshield, he ended up getting cut and his blood was just pouring because he's on those blood thinners. And at that time, he kind of realized what Bobby was saying, and he kind of had to think about it a little bit. And he was like, well, maybe I'm ready, but maybe I could slow my pace down a little bit too. So I love that fact, and I love that it's just the straight 118 again. No complaints about Ronda Rousey. She done her part, she done her job, and she was cool, but I'm just happy to have the original 118 back, man. And Buck and Bobby even made up at the end of this episode. That was fantastic, man, and I loved it, and I'm happy that the 118 is back in good company. Maggie even apologized to Chimney and told him that she has to get help, and he agreed because she's going through some stuff. That's pretty much all that happened, and now we're going to get into Athena. This being a Halloween-themed episode, so we knew a lot of spooky stuff was going to happen. And dude, we get to see a bunch of kids trick-or-treating. They're going to this house, and they're ringing the doorbell, and this dude's passing out candy. And then this one chick pops up, and she looks like super malnourished. Like she's got blood on her. She's skin and bones. She's pale. She got black ring. Dude, she's just horrible. You could tell she was suffering. But comes to find out that her parents locked her and all of her siblings up in a basement, had them handcuffed and everything, and starved these kids, didn't give them water. They didn't have lights in the house or anything. I know this was a Halloween episode, but dude, that was gut-wrenching. That made me feel some type of way, man, because seeing those kids like that, those kids were treated horrible. But that whole time where Athena was checking out the house, I was like, please, Athena, call for backup. I don't need you to get hurt. I love Athena, and I did not want to see her get hurt. But it's 911. They always write her to where she's the hero, and she can handle her own. Athena's a boss. Let's just be real. Athena's a boss, man. But this whole episode was good, and it was a nice, smooth episode, and it was a lot calmer. and everything, because it was the Halloween episode. So we had all of these mysterious cases, but we also really focused on the main stuff that we kind of wanted to wrap up and understand what was going on, which is Buck being back at 118, Buck and Eddie fixing their relationship, Buck and Bobby fixing their relationship, and Maggie apologizing to Chimney and realizing that she needs to get help about her whole situation about domestic violence. And we even kind of see that the lady was listening to Maddie, but kind of just wrote her off because Maddie lied to her and she didn't want to listen to anything Maddie had to say. But then these mysterious cases was crazy this episode, man. I love the Halloween episodes because these cases is always off the charts, man. But that's pretty much everything that happened this episode, man. And as I always say, I enjoyed it. I loved it every single moment. And I got to touch on the fact about the music that played this episode. We had some REO Speedwagon, a little Stevie Wonder. So, yeah, this was a nice episode, man. This is your boy, Nick Incredible. Don't forget to smash that like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And 911 always brings a smile to my face, man. Peace out.